Welcome back. On this episode of Plane Chat, I have my CFI Lacey, and she's going to talk to us about the importance of checking your fuel, especially with the recent events with like the Air India and some of these other things. It's always good to check your fuel, and she can tell us why that is.
Yeah, so obviously with cars where we check the fuel level, we get in our car and we drive away and that's kind of it. But with planes, we want to be a little more thorough, obviously. We're leaving the ground, a little more risk on the line, right? So we're going to check our fuel to make sure there's no contaminants, things like water, dirt, if there's a different level of fuel grade in the tank that we don't want. So we use the light blue 100 low lead. So we're always checking to see, is it light blue? If it's not, what do we have in there? We don't want something like Jet A in the tanks that could cause detonation, which is just like an explosive ignition of the fuel, which could damage our engine. And just good to check, right?
And I guess my question is like, how would water even get into the tanks? Because there are caps that you put on there to prevent that for the fuel coming out, but how would water get in there?
So in places with high humidity, condensation could cause water to condensate into the tanks.
And one thing I was told is that if you don't check for water, let's say their condensation happened overnight, you can still start the plane, probably taxi, and maybe even take off because there's still residual fuel in the lines. And then if water hits, after that, you completely lose your engine.
Yeah, you could. I actually think I met a pilot that talked about that happening to him. He lost his engine because of water in the fuel system.
So it's pretty important, you would say?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Luckily, he survived. He's okay. But
awesome.
yeah.
And how many locations or how do you check it on the plane?
Yeah. So we've got 13 fuel sumps or drain valves with our plane. We've got 5 under each wing and then 3 under the belly. If you want to pull out a POH, I can show you where that is on the plane. 5 under our left wing, 5 under our right wing. We've got 1 drain valve on the fuel selector valve, which is in the plane. I can point to that later. 1 drain on the fuel reservoir, and then another drain on our fuel strainer. Last 3 sumps, the drain valve, the fuel tank reservoir, and the fuel strainer are all going to be under the belly. And then we have the 5 under each wing. As you can see, we have some contaminated fuel here. You could pretty clearly see the separation between the water and the blue fuel. And the reason for that is water is heavier than fuel. So water is 8 pounds per gallon, whereas our fuel weighs about 6 pounds per gallon. So that's why it's really important to sump and check for any contaminants in the fuel system. Pretty simple, straightforward. Just push the needle up and into the sump and fuel will drain into our little cup here. So pretty quick and easy. I guess the worst part of it is getting down on your hands and knees for those last 3 under the belly, but that's about all it takes. Thanks.